All right, everyone, again, welcome. So this session, we are offering 2 weeks free training. After that, people who want to continue with our pay program, it's up to them. They'll let us know. And then we'll just continue. This is just going to be a continuation, okay? So, but as a tradition, we always offer 2 weeks training just for people to see if this field is for them, right? I don't just want a situation where we'll start and people will be like, you know what, I don't think this field is for me. So I always provide the 2 weeks training, go through the very first hands-on project where I know of people making over 140K categorizing information system for you guys to see that there's nothing there. And I've always told people if you can read and understand English, then you are good to go. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. It doesn't matter your background or what, technical skills. GRC, as a matter of fact, it comes with a lot of different skill set, a lot of transferable skills like communication, critical thinking, and so many that we'll cover in depth. But a little bit about me. I'm Eunice Sabora. By now, you guys must have known. I've seen me everywhere on social media. I post a lot. I'm originally from Cameroon, West Africa. I had my bachelor's degree in zoology, animal study. I always tell people I'm very honest. I never had a laptop while I was in Cameroon. Okay. I got my first laptop when I moved to the US. And when I was about to do my first cyber IT training, that's Oracle database, even up to now, the way I type, that's how I type. Okay. I don't know. I have not mastered my keyboard, but I still type like that. But being everywhere, started my career as an Oracle database administrator, then went through the route of AWS, cloud computing, as well as a little bit of DevOps. Then while doing all of those, I went in for a master's degree in information technology. And that's one beautiful thing. It doesn't matter what you do. I think America is just have that flexibility, unlike my home country where I feel like we are so limited. So you might have a bachelor degree in any field, you can go in for a master's degree, okay? And went in for my master's degree, and it's not like I had the best GPA at my bachelor. I think I have a GPA of 2.5 something. It was that low, but still I went in for a master's and finally graduated with a GPA of 4.0. That's just to tell you that again, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're thinking of forging your education sometimes in the future, know that you might have a bachelor in history, any other field. Still, there are schools in America that will take you for your master's. Okay. Then alongside that, I also founded UST Unlimited SkySec. I'm also the lead instructor. I have a colleague that also teaches Security Plus for people who want to take the CompTIA certification. And a little bit about UST, if you do not know, we are recognized nationwide by the National Initiative of Cybersecurity Careers and Studies, NICE, and it's been sponsored by the US Department of Homeland Security as well as CISA. We are also CompTIA authorized academic partner, which means that if you want to go in for any CompTIA certification, we offer the training, but we specialize just for now with just Security Plus. And after that, we also give student exam voucher. Even if you've taken the training elsewhere, you just want an exam voucher, of course, we can give you at a discounted company price, okay? And then if you have to renew your certification, especially Security Plus, we are also eligible for that. You need to take the training, print your certificate of completion, submit it to CompTIA, and CompTIA will renew your certification for you. So that's something that we also do. And currently we operate in over 7 countries in the world, students everywhere. We believe train over 100 students, if I'm not mistaken. And then we've also featured on top Cameroonian TV channels, including their mother channel, CRO TV. And it's very interesting because that's a channel I grew up, watching all the news with my father, my late dad. But to think that UST was featured there is a big thing for me, though. And then Canada and so many others. Let me do. I want to do it in read mode. Okay. And so many others. So that's just a little background about me. We're going to spend time talking about, and have a monitor. That's why you see me, I'm looking this way. What training so far is based heavily on GRC, governance, risks, and compliance, risk management and compliance. And for those of you just joining now, I did ask a question: why cybersecurity? Why do you want to do cybersecurity? Some they've shared their beautiful what motivated them, why they are here. Some even share her experience with us, which I really appreciated. But I want to ask you all the question: what do you understand by the word cybersecurity? Who want to try? What do you understand by cybersecurity? What is cybersecurity?
Yeah, let me give it a try. I
Yes,
think
please.
the protection against the data breach, information, and relevant, important documents like that, information
Okay.
and what have
Yeah.
you.
Okay, good. Someone else? Someone else? No? So do you guys know all the different domains in cybersecurity? Do we know all the different domains in cybersecurity?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel, Mr. Tevi?
I'm sorry, I'm a single parent and I had a whole lot going on with me. I couldn't really go through the program, but all I had in mind was I had to attend this class for the first hearing, to understand exactly what I'm getting
Oh,
myself into and all that. So the whole lot has been
so
going
that's
on with me, but
all
I mean,
right.
I will
No,
get to
that's fine.
understand how far I'm supposed to dip myself into it.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
reason of me asking that question is that I, for one, prior to getting to cybersecurity, first, of the fact that imposter syndrome and the fact that first I listen a lot, people would tell me stuff about cybersecurity. It's just like watching Hollywood movies, they depict the image of having a hacker in a dark room, coding, hacking, and doing all those things. That was my knowledge, okay? So I always thought in cybersecurity, you need to be a really technical person. You need to know how to break and fix computers. You need how to code. You need to know how to hack. So that's really prevented me for a very long time. So I was just like, each time I tried, I just felt like, this is not for me. And that's why I did ask. And to me, something like that, you guys can just go to Google, just even try to see the different domains in cybersecurity, right? And earlier I said that with AI, with automation, machine learning, quantum computing, that is still emerging. Um, Stipulated by 2035, it might go into effect. But the last time I read some articles, AWS and some other companies are already adopting it, which is going to affect a lot of IT roles. And there are also cybersecurity domains and roles that are already being affected. And that's why I did ask the question. And because I've been posting a lot, at times I'll write something. I think I also posted an article on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, make sure you follow me and read those articles, right? There are domains that these technologies eventually are affecting it. That's the truth. But there are also domains that it increases the jobs, and GRC is one of that domain in cybersecurity. And if you do your research very well, you realize that everything again starts from GRC, governance, risks, and compliance. And a lot of us are going to be working here managing risks. Literally, they are interwoven. So it kind of depend on each other. And we will see that shortly. And that's why these slides talk about governance, risk, and compliance 101, still a beginner guide to understanding this concept of GRC. But yeah, these are just some of the things that we're gonna cover. What is GRC? importance of GRC, breakdowns of GRC components, GRC frameworks, and also go through some real-world examples. Course outline, implementation process, and just take away what we have learned. But that being said, we'll talk on GRC. What is GRC? Many a times you just hear the word GRCs. I'm a GRC analyst, right? Governance, risks, and compliance. And it stands for governance, risks, and compliance. But what does it do? That's why I say it integrates strategies and processes that ensure organization meets objectives, manage risks, and comply with regulations. But the next slide, we'll go further and see what GRC really entails. And this is just to give us a good picture of a view. For example, managing risks, we'll go through the risk aspect, okay? And then on top of meeting business objective, what does it really mean? And talking of staying in compliance, who are you complying with? Depending on the type of data, why do we want to stay in compliance? And we're going to see that shortly. And again, as I said, please, if you have any question, kindly pause us and ask your question, okay? But talking about governance, I have a colleague who work in the governance sector and relate them making the rules and everything within his organization. Think of governance as the rules of the game for an organization. With that governance, everything will be so bizarre. And I believe for some of you who've watched our videos on YouTube, I actually took my time to start from the ground up. Okay, those videos were carefully curated, where you need to first of all understand G, you need to understand R, you need to understand C, then before we even start talking about vulnerability, threats, risks, CIA Triad, and then you start building your cybersecurity concept. And if you've not watched those videos, make sure you send me a message. I think I will add you on the WhatsApp group. There's just a format of you watching the videos. I always tell people, make sure you start from the oldest to the most recent video, but you have to watch it in that fashion to fully understand the concept better. So governance ensures that everyone in the organization is working towards the same goals. I'm going to see it shortly. And that reminds me, I also have a video there on YouTube still, what happened with the chaos when there's no governance. You're going to see that video. I actually put my heart in that particular video. I think it's like 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. They realize that without governance, even our traffic lights, we will not have it. Like, think of all the accident, all the chaos, even in manufacturing industry, hazard and things happening because there's literally no governance. For example, a company setting policies about how employees should use their computers safely. A lot of you all have told me you want to do cybersecurity because of the flexibility, the fact that you want to work from home. How you intend to work from home, how is your organization data protected? If there's no rules, no governance, then honestly, hackers will get into your system in less than no time. So that tells you that when you are working from home, they have policy and governance, things that they've put in place to meet their business objective. Okay, so you have leadership, you have top management making all those rules, all those laws to meet their objective. And that's the essence of governance. But we're going to delve deeper in, I believe the subsequent slide will cover some key concept on governance, right? But talking about risks, I always tell people, again, believe me or not, risks management is where a lot of you are going to get your job. 90% of us are going to be working managing organization risks. And by the time you realize that you cannot achieve compliance without managing risks, like Ade, she said she's helping our organization with PCI DSS. We will go there shortly. PCI DSS is just for companies that manage credit cards as well as debit card transaction. They have to be in compliance with PCI DSS, but you cannot be in compliance with PCI DSS without managing those risks. If not, you will not even meet the compliance. You will not even get a certification. It's just like you going to get your driver's license Imagine you don't even know how to do a U-turn or whatever. Me, reverse is not for me. Actually, I failed my reverse, but that lady just forgave me, okay? She gave me my thing. So if you've not mastered all the rules, for example, governance, you have to turn right, you can turn right on a right light, but you cannot turn left on a right light. You have to wait until that light change to a green. Literally, that's the rules they've said. That's governance, right? But what's the risk? You managing, following that rules, right? Doing stuff to just make sure you better protect yourself. Wearing seat belt, you are managing risks. Think of it. Why do we even have seatbelt in the first place? It's not like we know we're gonna get into accident, and I want you all to see security from this light, okay? Security, somebody just joined, can you mute, please? Security is a more proactive, it's like literally a proactive approach. We are being proactive. We are thinking all the how, why, when something goes wrong, how are we going to do it, right? And we're going to see that shortly because the fact that we have everything in place, we do our best to have all the controls. We do our best to monitor, to assess why those data breaches, why do they still happen? Hey, and that's security for you because security again is not only thinking of the current situation. Security GRC is thinking of what if something happened after that. If a data breach occurs, how do we recover from that? You get so it's just a proactive approach, and that's why we're gonna get a job because it's a continuous effort. Like with AI and everything happening, guys, it's wild out there. So you see, like the risk posture is crazy, So we are there to keep managing these risks, to keep doing our best. The fact that we are doing our best still does not warrant the fact that breaches will not occur. It will definitely occur. That's the truth, right? And that's why they say risk is about identifying and managing things that could go wrong. It's like being aware of the dangers and having a plan to avoid them. As I said, right? For example, a company knows that hackers might try to steal customer data, so they put strong password and firewalls in place. And I'll tell you this today. If you want to succeed in cybersecurity, understand security controls. Cybersecurity, in a nutshell, is all about security controls. You do not need to be a technical person to understand controls. Okay, with the help of ChatGPT, you can break down those controls and understand. If you have an in-depth knowledge on cybersecurity controls, then you are good to go. Because as I said, a lot of the time we are working managing the risks are just controls that have implemented. We are either assessing it, policies, they are all controls. We are just reviewing to make sure we have what it takes to better protect our organization systems. Okay. Then talking about the compliance aspect, now these are different laws and regulations that make it some mandatory, some at the level of like industry standard, like PCI DSS. It's not a federated law, but still they also have like very strong policy. A company can get out of business, right? It's no joke. If you are collecting people's social credit card and debit card, then you have to be in compliance with PCI DSS. Some of you, if you have businesses, that's something that if you own any businesses that you are receiving some form of payment, then it's important you watch our YouTube videos. That's also a course we did cover. So, wow, right. We receive payment, but I am actually wishing all the rest. I am transparent 100% risks. Okay, I go with two people. I go with paper and I also go with a film. For students want to take credit, they'll go through a film. But for people, maybe they want to pay through paper, but I do not collect credit nor debit card payment. I have to transfer all the risks to those folks. And I want you to start thinking. I don't know if I have some Africans here in class, but when you go to Walmart, when you are doing some form of online shopping, and then they have to redirect you to other platforms to make your payment. Have you guys ever thought, why are they doing that? Tell me, why do you think that when you go to some site, fair enough, Walmart, you can still put your credit card, but there are some sites that you cannot. When you go to checkout, they have to redirect you through a third party for you to make your payment. Have you guys ever thought, why do they have that? Why are they redirected to another third party site to do your payment?
Risk transfer.
Excellent. Do we understand that? Class, help me, please. Let me know people are following. I just like to get that confirmation. Help me, help a sister, please. Do we all understand why you don't have to redirect to a third-party platform? Yes or no? Are we? Yeah, nobody's talking. All right. Thank you. So yes, as Ade said, you are transferring the risk. Because it's important for us to understand this concept, because I know these are things that we play around with them, like we practice them, in our daily lives. But it's not just there. So each time when you're doing stuff like that, you want to understand. And also when you are going to put gas in your car, when you go to a gas station, always see there's something like a lock. You need to understand, why do they have that there? Yeah, it's encryption, but you need to understand very well. And we did cover that on our PCI DSS video. So again, there are so many laws that make it mandatory for organizations to abide with. And the reason me and you were gonna get job because of these laws. Okay. If they didn't have those laws in place, companies, I bet you they really don't care. They do not. But because those laws are mandatory, especially GDPR for European Union, that's one of the most strongest privacy law in the world, right? You have CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act, for the California residents. It is so strong. Okay, and so many other laws that we're going to see. And the reason, as I said, we'll get judged because of this law, because come to know the fact that if you have a relaxed system and you get hacked and you have dollars, thousands of dollars, billions of dollars that you have to settle, so you want to do all within your power to have the necessary controls to better protect your systems. That way you don't have to pay those fines, right? And that's why they say, for example, a healthcare company ensuring patient information is private as required by law. And we're going to see the law shortly. HIPAA, I guess all of us must have heard of HIPAA in the US as well as high trust. So we're going to see that in detail. But why it matters, why GRC matters, first, it streamlines processes, it reduces regulatory burden, and it also enhances decisions making. And we'll see that in depth. When we talk of streamlining processes, what does it mean? It helps organizations work more efficiently by creating clear rules as well as procedure. For example, instead of everyone handling customer complaints differently, GRC ensures there's a step-by-step guide that everyone follows. Typical example, let's take it in a real world. You are renting an apartment complex. I used to be in an apartment for some time, okay, before I bought my house. So you are there. Imagine if you want to put in a complaint, right? I guess you have a portal that you go, maybe something is not working, you submit that complaint, and then you have to go to the right channel, they'll check, somebody will come, the technician come fix it and everything. Or better still, just say when you want to get your house or an apartment, you go there, you meet different, how they call them, maybe the customer, what is it, client or whatsoever, the folks that help us. Imagine they do not have any standardized process in place or rules in place. Anyone you meet that tell you their own side of the story. Someone will say, no, maybe this apartment is going for $5,000. You meet another person say this apartment is going for $2,000. You meet another one say 1.5. Who are you really going to trust? Right? And that's exactly what GRC does in a real world. You have to, create those clear rules. We know what people are doing, what the organization is doing. For the one in a situation where nobody knows what is happening, say for example, a cyber attack, or managed, or the bad guys get into your system, you don't even know how you have to recover, because you guys do not have no clear rules in place. So GRC, again, I mean, governance, still GRC also help you, ensures that they have those clear rules in place, make sure that that's a streamlining of processes. Because again, if you have to go in the case of this apartment complex, if we have a unique standard, then that's, if you are coming, it's the same that applies to all our residents. Not that they have different, they don't even know what they have in place, and they are just giving us like different version, different story. Then it can be very, very chaotic and crazy. So the next one also, it reduces regulatory burden. And if someone might ask me, why do I take so much time explaining this concept? Cybersecurity is an interesting field if you understand this, okay? Again, I always tell people cybersecurity relies on this foundation, this foundational concept. Anything or everything you do in cybersecurity resonate around this concept. That's the truth. So there's just no way I will really skip this area and just hit people on the real project. No, I feel like let's have a background knowledge, let's understand what GRC is all about, and then go through all those different concepts, and then we hit our first project, and you guys will see it live. Like, we're just going to fall back on this same concept that we've been covering, maybe starting today, right? And then the next one, they talk of reduces regulatory burden. What does it mean? GRC makes it easier for organizations to comply with laws and regulations. Remember, we spoke of some of those laws. We're going to see them shortly. Say a company must protect customer data to avoid fines. A GDPR, if a company have relaxed system and they get hacked, you're going to pay 4% of your annual revenue. That's not, guys, that's money we are talking about. 4%. That's how serious this thing is, right? So GDPR by default is for European citizens, so European Union, any company in Europe or abroad that adheres to GDPR, that collect a European citizen data, by default, you have to be in compliance with GDPR. That's an acronym, but we'll go there shortly. Okay? So that's just to tell you again, you reduce that regulatory burden. Then the next one is enhances decision making. GRC provides accurate information about risks and compliance, helping leaders make better choices. Say a company might decide to invest in cybersecurity tools because GRC shows how much they could lose from a potential data breach. You see, so GRC literally, before making that decision, if I don't invest in this tool, if I get hacked, this is the X amount of money that I'm gonna lose. So GRC literally defines that for you and help you make an informed decision. Okay. Then the next one, let's say put everything together. Imagine you are planning a road trip. Who doesn't like to drive? I'm thinking of going to Arizona, and it's a road trip that I would love with some of my friends. So talking of streamlining process, first, you create a detailed route to save time and avoid getting lost, right? You want to check your Google map. You want to look, the best route that you want to take and all those things. Second, talking about regulatory compliance, you ensure your car has insurance and registration to avoid fines if you don't have it. If you get stopped by the cops, what happened? We understand, right? Enhanced decision, you check weather conditions and choose a safer route based on the forecast. Really, because you cannot make a long road trip without checking your weather forecast, checking the weather condition, if it's even safe for you to travel or not. So just like things we would do on our daily lives to improve, make good decision, improve our way of life, same thing also happened in the cyber world, and specifically GRC. Okay. So talking of importance of GRC, we'll talk about regulatory compliance. Now we're talking about regulatory mandates. And some of these regulations that we have, for example, HIPAA for healthcare, I think you guys, I don't know if there's anybody here from the healthcare sector, that is very, very strong, right? Imagine nowadays, if you visit your doctor, you realize that you can choose your beneficiary, right? You even know that you can be married, but you don't want your spouse to check your record. You have that right. Right. So when they put some of these laws and regulation in place, guys, it's not just on fancy. Once they put it, then GRC folks will need to make sure that it's being implemented and also operational, right? So HIPAA, if you are from Africa or Europe, this is for US healthcare sector, okay? And I think the GDPR that I mentioned in Africa, a lot of African countries, even like US companies also adhere to GDPR a lot. And the beautiful thing about training is that we'll cover all these core regulatory frameworks because you work for organizations that adhere to 2 or 3 frameworks, right? And that's why I always tell people, some students or maybe potential students, when they call, they'll be like, I want to do RMF. And it's like, okay, RMF, but you know that you are limiting yourself just based on US jobs, right? Government jobs. Okay. Do you also know that you work for US government? There are also systems that collect payment cards, for example, PCI DSS. See, if you work for hospital systems, a hospital information system, they also collect credit cards. So you find situation where, a company is adhering to this particular standard, but because of the nature or kind of data they collect, they also need to adhere to a certain regulations, right? And that's why each time you are going to maybe go to a hospital or something, or you have to make a payment online, your insurance company or whatever, start thinking of PCI, hospital, HIPAA, sorry, HIPAA, okay? But when it comes to payment, where you're doing some form of payment where you're using your debit or credit card, then start thinking of PCI DSS. PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, okay? We just call it, short form PCI DSS. And then we also talk of risk management and then operational efficiency, how operational your controls are. Any question, guys? Are we good? Are we good?
I'm good.
Yes, we
good.
are.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Oh, somebody's asking for the link again. Let me send. That's nice. Is it flowing? Let me understand. Are you guys, have you learned something so far?
It's going so
Yeah,
far good.
yeah.
Nice. I love that. Thank you. All right. So regulatory mandates, we talk of the HIPAA and PCI DSS. Organizations must follow specific rules to protect sensitive information. For example, HIPAA ensures healthcare data is kept private and secure. PCI DSS protects credit card information during transaction, not only during data. And that's why I asked you the question. When you are going to put gas in your car, when you see that lock, it means something. Each time you are inserting your card, there's just so much risk. So that lock you have there, it means something. Okay, so pay attention. Don't just go and be inserting your card and avoid some of these smaller gas stations that you just got. No, really, you have to avoid that. Okay. So following this mandate, avoid legal troubles and build trust with customers. And I want to tell you guys today, as I said that company are doing this, we are getting job because of these regulations or regulatory bodies that are making mandatory for organization to adhere to. But I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, the most important thing are your customer trust, your data, my data. With that our information, that company will not going to be, they will not even be in business. That's the truth. Right. So everything again is all about your trust, my trust, our data. Okay. So we need to understand that. And then talking about risk management, GRC helps identify, assess, and minimize risks to an organization. And we're going to see that in real life when we start the RMF, hopefully by next week. We're going to go there in live where we'll start by getting an information system and learn how to categorize data. Same thing you guys will be doing, Same thing that I have folks making 140K doing. And the beautiful thing is, you guys are going to be doing it manually. But now they're going to be using tools that you can just generate something, and it's that easy. Okay. A company implementing firewalls and regular updates to prevent cyber attacks. For example, risk management. You guys, how often do you update your phone? How often? Are you that side down when you have those updates, you just click? I know I have sisters who, I have to educate them. I have students who told me I get that thing. No, you have to do it. So you think Apple is dull, Samsung is dull to be pushing those updates to you guys to update it? Oh, it's there for you to be able to manage your risks. Okay. Why operational efficiency, streamline processes, saving time and resources, an organization using clear workflows for reporting incident, ensure quick and effective resolution. It's a big one. Operational efficiency. We're going to see when we start talking about incident response and the like. Okay. And as I said, if you have any question, please make sure you ask me. Again, about the road trip, think of regulatory mandates, ensuring your car is registered and insured before driving, risk management, checking weather forecasts, and planning alternate routes in case of bad conditions. Operational efficiency, packing all essentials beforehand to avoid unnecessary stops or delays. Okay. Then, but what are some of the benefits of GRC? Improve governance and oversight, reduce legal risks, better resource management. Okay. And just to go through that, organization ensure clear rules and policy are in place, leading to better control and management or alignment with goals. For example, regular audits ensure all teams follow organization policy effectively. This word is a keyword, regular audits. And they should be able to tell you she works internally for her company. That's something that we do a lot as GRC analysts. Routine, you keep doing stuff over and over again. And that's why you keep having job, because you have to keep doing it. It's not like a one-time thing, you keep doing it. They call it con. Just keep doing it to make sure you guys are safe, you guys are good, right? And again, with AI and everything, more security risks, that means that you still have to perform those audits to make sure that your controls are operational, right? Reduce legal risks, compliance with laws and regulations, minimize the risks of fines, lawsuits, or reputational damage. Of course, if I'm banking with Bank of America, tomorrow Bank of America get hacked and my data is exposed, do you think I'm going to go with Bank of America? I'm definitely going to switch and go with any other bank, right? And that's why when we talk of reputational damage, it's a big thing, because remember earlier, we did mention of customer trust. Yes, if your customer do not trust you, that's it. They're going to go with your competitor, right? For example, a healthcare organization implementing HIPAA policy avoids penalty for mishandling patient data, right? Oh, better resource management. GRC optimizes the use of time, money, and personnel by eliminating redundancy and efficiency. For example, a company uses a unified system to track compliance tasks, reducing duplicate efforts across teams. Think of GRC like running a household efficiently. Head of household, fathers. In your household, you create rules like no electronics during dinner, and everyone cleans their room every Saturday. This keeps the family organized and on the same page. What's the result? The house stay tidy and everyone knows what to do. So now flip the coin. Think of a situation where we don't have no rules. Imagine having kids, also in this country. It's crazy, right? Not even this country, everywhere. They don't know that they have to clean their room, dinner, everybody is just on their electronics and everything. Like, come on, right? We have to spend quality time as a family. And likewise, if organization do not have those rules in place, then everything is bizarre. accountability, we cannot even be talking of accountability because anybody's going to be doing their own thing that they want. Somebody will do something, be like Shaggy, it wasn't me, Don't being caught in the act, you'd be like, no, it wasn't me. And that's why we have to set these rules again, just to make sure people are accountable for their action, and they have that clear guidance on what to do at any given point in time. And then we talk of reduce legal risks still in your household. You follow safety rules like keeping sharp objects away from children and ensuring your home has smoke alarms. Do you see reduce legal risks? Do you guys know the smoke alarms we have, the surveillance cameras we have? Those are all security controls. Yeah, you guys are going to see that. Those are all controls. Those are things that we work behind the scene to assess. Even working maybe as a CNA or any facility you work, you guys are doing how they call fire drill. I did that when I work as a CNA. Fire drill, those are all security rules and controls that we are testing. You guys are going to see how everything is like, it will come out, just play out in real life, and it's going to make so much sense. Okay. You avoid accident or legal troubles and keep your family safe. And then we
Security
have
analyst.
what's that? Did someone say something? Oh, okay. So that being said, let's talk about governance. We spent some time going over GRC. Now let's spend some time talking about governance. What's governance? Governance ensures leadership, resource management, and accountability. For example, board oversight, policies, performance management. Who can tell me, what do you guys understand by the word policy? We hear so much about policy. What's policy? What are security policies? Who want to give a try? Just say something. What are security? Oh, not even security, but we hear the word policy. We hear so much about policy, even on the news, policy. What does it mean?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. Is it Joel? Yes.
Yes. Sorry for getting in late.
No, that's
Policies are like standardized rules that govern an administration in achieving its goals.
good. What else?
Like a control.
Like a control. What are controls? Yeah. So my keynote there is policy. You see this word policy? You guys, maybe you can go do some research. Without security policy, or without policy, not only security, organization cannot function. It cannot. Okay, these are written documents that tells you what an organization does. You hear policy and procedure. Procedure is how your policies are being executed step by step, how that policy is executed. But policy, these are your written document that tells you as to what an organization does. Do you see further when you are putting, or parents, you are putting those rules, electronic during dinner, clean your room. Those are all policies that you put them together. You have a written rules. That are your rules. You've put them together. Because if you don't have them written, guess what? What is gonna do what? Like they don't know, and everything is gonna be bizarre, right? So policies are those written documents that test you what organization does. And going now to security, because the reason I just kept it at a broad policy, you also have financial, but we are focusing on security. Okay, financial, they also do have their policies. But the beautiful thing, and earlier I said that if you want to succeed in your GRC career, you need to understand controls. Guess what? Policies are dependent on controls. Which, why so mean? You guys are going to say it. Without controls, you cannot have policies. So you have to take controls to write and develop policies. And we have videos on YouTube for those who've been watching already. I spent some time doing that. That playlist, guys, is a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so that's just something I want you guys to pay attention. Your policies in terms of security, they are dependent on controls. And if you understand security controls, now you got that job already. I promise you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
So, can we say that policies are like guardrails that are being used by governing bodies? So, be it what laws that have been put in
Yes,
place to ensure that organizations adhere to certain standards or tracks that have been put in
absolutely.
place. Is that okay?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, yes. And guess what? In terms of security, do you know the people that keep, or the team that will keep your policy? Who can tell me? Keeps policy. You guys want to guess? You guys want to guess? No?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Could you kindly repeat the question again?
I mean the team. Do you know the team that keeps security policies?
Is it the compliance team?
We're talking of compliance team. What do you understand by compliance team? What are compliance team?
GRC.
Like,
To keep it short, cybersecurity force maintain and keep your policies.
Oh,
Yes, I want you guys like it's not just about teaching, but I want you guys to see how powerful you like the kind of role you have. You know, like you have so much respect just having some rules. Okay, not everybody keep those policies. I'm saying so when I work as a DBA, a database administrator, you have we back up databases. Do you guys know you have your backup policies? You know, the truth is that I might not even be too technical. I can meet with the DBA teams for us to develop that policy. Tell me, okay, what kind of backups you guys use? Maybe it's full backup, incremental backup, la 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 la. But you define all of those. But guess what? I am the person keeping that policy. DBA should not have access to that policy. If I need them, I will send in there somebody edited, but security keeps that. And the one thing when we talk of regular audits or continuous monitoring, guess what? Most policy, not even most, all policies, right? With the exception of PIA where we'll go there, but a lot are being reviewed on an annual basis. So one of your key role as a GRC analyst is to review and update security policies. That would be like, depending on your kind of role, because many a time, maybe if you are a lead or manager, but it just depends where you work, right? Because me, I've like one of my role, I have over 80 policies to review and update. So, when the year kick, I start in January, by the time I'm reviewing, guess what? Next year, I just continue. Like you just keep doing it. That's your routine work. Yeah. Okay. You have to keep doing that. And why do we do that? If somebody leaves your organization, you have to update that policy. For example, my last role, I was a risk and compliance manager where I let like their incident response, let so many other things. Then when I leave the organization, it's okay for them to go and review and update that policy and put the most current contact. You cannot just keep it there because Eunice has been their risk and compliance manager when she leaves and Eunice information is still there. When external auditors come, then you will know. Okay? And that's to tell you again. I just want people to think, like, just be a critical thinker. Start thinking of all the possibilities and the fact that GRC is that strong. It's a role that the jobs are there if you understand and you're able to connect the dots. Okay? And it was so important for me to flag out policy. Right? Thank you. Then governance in GRC. Having understand, David, don't bother taking video and snapshot. I'm seeing you. Don't bother. You are good. Okay. Don't bother doing that. Just pay attention. All right. So, governance in GRC. Now that we understand what GRC is, let's understand governance. Again, as I said, all these videos, and guys, I'll upload this particular video on YouTube, okay, for those people who can watch it. That way it's easier for me rather than sharing stuff. That way I can also delete it from my cloud platform because, again, I don't want to be spending a lot of money. Okay, so governance in GRC, now that we know what GRC entails, we need to understand governance also. And you cannot go to risks and compliance without understanding G. It's very important. They work together, right? So, and that's why we group them GRC, GRC, GRC. What it does. Governance ensures there's a strong leadership, effective resource management, and clear accountability across organization. For example, you have board oversight. The board of directors ensures the organization stays on track and meets its goals. Policy, establishing rules like employees must change their password every 90 days. Remember, that's a rule. They have established that rule. It's being documented on your policy. But does it mean that when they put that rule, is it operational? Is it effective? That's where risk management comes in. And that is where you come in. Okay? And you guys will see. Yeah, because they are saying that let's establish a rules that employees will have to change their password every 90 days. Governance. They establish it, boom. We have it in our policy, but have we implemented it? And even if it's been implemented, is it operational? And your role will be for you to keep checking this on a routine basis. That's why we use the word handman. And that's why I said you will always have that job because it's not a one-time fix. It's something that you will do it and do it and do it over and over and over again. Okay? Performance management, regularly evaluating employees to ensure they meet their objectives. You also remember when you are having that how they call performance review and all those things that governance have put in place, and they are just checking, are you able to meet your objectives, your goals? What are your strongest point? Where are those lapses or weakness? Where do you think you want to improve? Some companies will even want to sponsor you, or maybe they feel like they need that you need to have this certification, so they'll sponsor you for that, right? So these are some of the things that we also need to take into consideration. Say, for example, parents, leaders set the house rule policies, assign chores, resource management, and ensure everyone completes their tasks. That's accountability. The rule could be no phones at the dinner table, and the parents make sure it follows to create a positive family environment, right? Then talking about risks, I'm so crazy about risks because if you understand risk management in GRC, then it definitely it just widen your scope and you see how it's like just see like it's just a field that will be in demand because especially I've been preaching a lot when you think of all this AI, this IoT, Internet of Things, automation, machine learning, they all come with risks. They come with plenty and plenty of risks, like plenty of risks. But how do we manage our risks? Tell me, even you, why do you lock your door when leaving the house? Why do you have to put a seat belt when driving? Why do you have to have surveillance cameras? Why do you need to have smoke detectors? Those are all ways of you managing your risks. So likewise, if you can correlate and relate these things that you have, your physical structure, then think now in the computer world, how will organization better manage their risks? Okay. First, with risk management, it identifies, assesses, and mitigates risks. Example, cybersecurity risks, financial risks, as well as operational risks. Okay, not just cybersecurity, but what does it do? Risk management involves identifying potential risks, evaluating their impact, and taking steps to reduce or eliminate them. For example, talking of cybersecurity risks, protecting system from hacking or data breaches. And since I just talked about system, I don't know if I have a slide, but I want to tell you all something. I know I've been saying so much of us getting jobs and everything, okay? When you're working for that organization, it's not like I'm just working for UST, for example. No, we are talking of information system. You have different system, right? So your job will be like accessing all the different systems. You want to think of the uncountable systems that organizations they do have, right? I'm saying so like me, I've worked, I don't even know, I can't even count it. I've worked from like more than how many systems, I cannot even count. I've been with my current company getting to 3 years now. So you have different systems. Because remember, I told you people, if you're working for organization where they'll have a system that collect credit or payment card detail, that system will have to be in compliance with PCI DSS. Another system maybe has to do with patient demographic data and all those things. Then we are talking about HIPAA, right? So you cannot just be grouping stuff like that. You have to separate it to also reduce the regulatory burden, as we discussed earlier. So now start thinking of all the different information systems that organization will have, right? So you might work, it's not like, oh, organization, maybe they're in PCI DSS compliant, mean that they have a PCI DSS certification. It is not at the level of the organization. It's an information system that have that. And I'm saying so because sometime in the future, for those who are going to take our training, a third-party vendor risk is going to come handy, and you guys will see that in real life. Okay? So talk about financial risks. Also, if you get her, think of all the financial expenditure that comes with this, right? Or market loss, operational risks, preventing issues like equipment failure or supply chain disruption, right? That's something that is also really big. So think of risk management as preparing for a rainy day. You check the weather forecast first. That's how you identify your risks. I see that it might rain. So what do? You decide to carry an umbrella, assess and mitigate risks to avoid getting wet. If you have an umbrella, of course, you'll be wet. If the rain does come, you are prepared and stay dry, minimizing the impact of the risks. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And the last one, compliance, which talk of ensures adherence to legal, regulatory, and policy requirement. I just quoted a few, but there are so many. And currently, UST, I think we have over 6 or 7 that we covered. We literally cover all the core regulatory frameworks. And my thing is this. If you want to get a job, you don't want to limit yourself. As I said, you want to limit yourself, I want to work only for the US government. You can get a job like Ade, where she's a PCI DSS consultant. You can get a job even in a healthcare that you help with HIPAA and so on. You can get a job, maybe educational sector. And if you work for most educational sector, you'll be adhering to the US federal, I'll say more standard and framework. I don't have it here, NIST and others. But GDPR, right? Because time and again, your school might be having exchange students from Europe. And by default, if you collect a European citizen's data, then you have to be in compliance with GDPR that I have mentioned so many times. That's General Data Protection Regulation. This is mandatory for, European Union, but any company that collects a European citizen data. It's a must. Okay? Remember, we have CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act for California residents. You have to think if you are in Canada, of course, Toronto, they have theirs. South Africa, they have their own privacy laws. There are just so many. But the beautiful thing is that once you understand one, the way our program is structured, once you understand one, then it's more about mapping and then diving and understanding the other concept. And that's the one beautiful thing about GRC. And I bet you, if you have a good holistic overview on all this other framework, when you are taking that interview, you would say for yourself, you stand the chances of getting that offer letter rather than somebody that's just narrow-minded. And I've not even mentioned third-party vendor risks, where a lot of companies will have to rely on, for their vendors, for their business to go operational, right? Like you, or maybe if you work for a healthcare sector, you guys, you have all that X-ray, you have all those monitoring machine, the kind of laws that machine need to be adherence to. your company or the hospital cannot manufacture those tools or machine or
Hello,
technologies. Huh?
hello. I have a question.
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, as concerns examples under compliance, can we have like ISO?
ISO, yes. Okay. So GDPR is the law, is the regulation. So we will go there. When you have laws and regulations, then they have standards, right? They have things that they've kind of put them in chunks for you guys to stay in adherence with GDPR. And that's where you start hearing of ISO. So ISO are standards that you would check. You have different ISO standards that you would check which one actually speaks to my system, which one do I need to implement to be able to stay in compliance with GDPR. Okay, but yes. So ISO is a standard, but now remember we're talking about the regulation, the laws. And likewise, maybe it's for some of you, I didn't just want to go there. Maybe you must have heard of NIST standards, but each time you are hearing of NIST, you need to start hearing of FISMA and federal. For you to be in compliance with those, then you start up implementing the NIST standards or NIST special publication series. Okay. Joel, did that answer your question?
It's okay.
Good. All right. All right. So, but what does it do? Compliance ensures organization follow legal, regulatory, and policy requirements to operate responsibly and securely. And again, these are some of the acronyms I think I've just mentioned. You guys didn't see that, but they are a lot. And that's why I said we will keep getting jobs because of these folks, okay? But the beautiful thing is that you cannot be in compliance without you managing your risks. And for you to manage your risks, governance will have to set those rules. You guys see the chain? So governance set that rules, we manage the risks, and once we manage the risks, then we can be in compliance. Because if you cannot manage your risks, you cannot even be in compliance, where you have external auditors or assessor coming in to assess your security posture. And each time they're doing that, then you need to have a clean report and you have to manage your risks effectively. If yes, then they can give you a certificate. If not, you're not going to have one. Okay. And these are just examples of what we've covered. GDPR protects personal data for European Union citizens. HIPAA safeguards health information in the healthcare industry. PCI DSS secure payment and card transaction. FISMA establishes security standard for federal system, US federal system. FedRAMP provides a standardized approach to cloud security for federal agency, and CCPA protect consumer privacy in California. Okay, and most of the job roles that you'll see some of this a lot. And once you have an in-depth knowledge on this framework, then you are good to go. Okay. So for compliance,
Hello.
yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, I think from their functions, the functions of these various agencies, I think that with respect to Cameroon, we have the internet, the National Agency for Communication, Telecommunication, ANTIC, which fights against cyber cyber security, which works in that domain.
Okay, nice. If you have my number, send that to me, because last time I did check, I know Kamawa, I couldn't find any like standard, but if you can send that to me, that's fine. And for you all in Africa too, I think I have a video on YouTube. They do have like an African union that they also set their own standards. Yeah.
There's ANTIC that works in the domain of cybersecurity in Cameroon.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'd like to do some research on that. So if you don't mind sending it to me, I would like to carry more research on that, especially in my home country. So let me know what we have. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So compliance in GRC, think of compliance as follow the rules of the road. You obey limits, laws, follow traffic signs, and ensure your car is insured. If you follow the rules, you stay safe and avoid spying, just like organization comply with regulations. And with that, so what have we covered so far? Governance, ensure effective leadership, resource management, and accountability. Example, board oversight, policy and performance management. Risk management identifies, assesses, and mitigates risks to protect the organization. Example, cybersecurity risks, financial as well as operational risks. Compliance, ensure adherence to legal, regulatory, and policy requirements. Example, GDPR, HIPAA, PCI DSS, FISMA, FERA, CPA, and also the one that Joel mentioned in Cameroon, and so many that we do have. And what was the takeaway? Governance provides structure and accountability. Risk management minimizes potential threats. Compliance ensures the organization follow necessary rules and regulations. Together, GRC creates a secure, efficient, and well-regulated organization. And that, we have a question for you guys. Are you people ready? Are we ready, guys?
Yeah, we are ready.
Yeah.
Right on.
Oh, 1 minute. I have a brother in the house. They have a class going on. He's sleeping. Let me wake him up. I'll be right back, please. Let me tell him they are waiting for him. Let's pause the record. All right, sorry about that. So a question for you all. Which of the following is not a component of GRC?
I would say
E?
financial management.
Exactly,
Yes.
finance management. Does anyone has an like? Are we all good?
Yeah.
Thumbs up, guys. Let me know we are good. Are we good?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
nice.
Yes.
All right. Then the next one. Which compliance framework focuses on protecting healthcare information?
C? HIPAA.
ICCA.
Absolutely, HIPAA for the US government. Good. What is the primary goal of governance in GRC?
B.
I would say
Are we
A,
good with that?
B. It can be A, B, and D.
B.
What is the primary, I did not say goals.
Oh,
What is
okay.
the primary goal of governance in GRC?
To ensure leadership and policy enforcement.
So are we good with B?
Yes.
Yeah, I think correct.
I would say
David? No,
A.
it's not a matter of thinking. We want to be convinced and sure. Are we good with B?
Yeah,
I'm good.
Yes.
I
I'm good
say
with it.
A.
it's B.
I don't know, but it makes more
Somebody say
sense to
A.
me. Yeah.
Ceci, why A?
It kind of make more sense to me though. They
How?
minimize risk in operations.
So what's governance for you?
Good question.
Why I think B is because to ensure leadership and policy management. Those are the first things that the company have to look at before we start the operation.
Thank you. That's a smart catch. Minimize risk operation. Do you know that your policy is also a way of you minimizing your risks?
Yep.
Okay.
How do you minimize risks if you don't have policy?
What
Yeah.
risk are you looking into if you don't have a policy to define it?
Yeah. So policy comes first. Cecilia, are we good?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Yeah. Which of the following is an example of a risk in risk management? Guys, read. Which of the following is an example of a risk in risk management?
B.
B. B.
Bridge. Yep.
B. A data breach.
Yep.
B.
We all good?
I'm good.
I think A.
I'm good.
We all agree on B.
Somebody say A. Who is saying A? Why A?
B
Which
and
of
B.
the following is an example of a risk in risk management?
I'll go for
Joel,
B.
did you say A?
Yeah, I said A.
B.
Why A?
A data
You
breach.
know, having an oversight, it actually, risks you not being able to see the risks that you are trying to manage.
Implementing board oversight is tied to which component of the GRC?
Governance.
Governance. Remember? Governance, but do what you are doing. That's not risk. So definitely it's a data breach. And because I think we've not defined risks really well, next videos, I think hopefully, I don't know if we'll be able to do that tonight, but you guys will see it. It will make more sense. But the answer is B. Okay. Which framework is designed to protect personal data in the European Union?
B.
That's B.
Excellent. So for C, who can tell me what's C?
Just for
Credit cards.
credit cards and
Credit
Debit.
cards,
Excellent. Debit
financial.
and credit card. Yeah, even like folks, I have students in Australia and Europe, PCI DSS is also a big thing there. What is the primary focus of compliance in GRC?
Compliance. GRC.
adherence.
B.
Adherence to
I'll
laws
go
and
for B. Ensuring
Somebody say
adherence to
what?
laws and regulations.
B.
it's B, ensuring
Okay,
adherence.
yes. Compliance will go with adherence. You have to adhere to those laws and regulations. And that is it, guys. So we will take a break and then your cybersecurity training starts. Right? We'll start talking about vulnerability, threat, risks, and then CIA Triad. If you understand this concept, that's cybersecurity for you. I promise you. So how many minutes do you guys want? I always go with what students want. How many minutes do you guys want?
10.
There's always a chain. So pay attention to vulnerability, threat, and risks. You need to understand this concept very well, very well. Okay, so that by the time we go start defining cybersecurity, talking of CIA Triad, some of you must have heard of CIA Triad, then we are talking about this concept. So it's important for us to understand this. And cybersecurity as a whole, doesn't matter what you do, fall back on the same concept, okay? So it's that important for us to understand. First and foremost, we'll talk of vulnerability. What does it mean? It says that a vulnerability is a weakness or flaw in a system, process, or environment that can be exploited by a threat to cause harm. And that threat, we're not going to even touch threat, we're just going to base on vulnerabilities. What's the key idea? Vulnerability do not cause harm by themselves. They will never cause harm, but something will take advantage of their vulnerability. You heard of the English word, oh, this person is vulnerable to, maybe they have a certain weakness, then somebody take advantage of that, right? So they said that vulnerability do not cause harm by themselves. There are opportunities for threats to exploit, okay? And let's see what the other slides have. A typical example for us to understand this, a real life analog, say an unlocked door. And I ask the question, why do you have to lock your door when you are leaving the house? You are managing risks. What kind of risks? No, we just talk of risks. We'll have to identify the different level of risks, right? Categorize them. And that's why they said that you leave your front door, or it can be your back door, whatever entry point, unlocked. That door is unlocked, right? But vulnerability, the unlocked door represent a weakness in your home security. Will that door cause any harm? No, it's there. But what is the risk now? First, if the burglar enters, that's the threat. you have an unlocked door. Probability and security for you. Security is more probability, 50-50, either or, okay? The chance of you having that door locked is 50% chance. Someone might get in, someone might not get in. Okay? And I want you people now to start seeing security in this life, okay? Say, for example, this one, I'm just thinking of it. You have that door unlocked. Somebody gets in. But guess what? Your alarm went off. Like my house, if you open my door, my back door, even my glass, you open my dishwasher, my alarm will tell you, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Okay? So if somebody opens your front door, say like you have that door unlocked, and so we talk about somebody just enter, and guess what? The alarm actually went off. It frightened that person, the person left, and that person ran away. Right? That's a scenario. You have another scenario. Guys, pay attention because I'm going to ask you for a question. I know we're going to go there, but I just want to put it out there before I forget. The first scenario, you have that door that's unlocked. So a strange person get in and they didn't take anything. Okay, so when they enter, the alarm went off and of course they left. The second scenario, that person get in, maybe they managed to get, I'll just say, like, let me see what, like, I'll just say maybe your TV, or maybe they can get TV, or they can get a phone. Let me just put electronic, they get a phone. That's the only thing they were able to get, right? Because again, no, it's quick, fast, they have to leave. And then the third scenario, somebody get in, and guess what? I think a lot of you all are immigrants, right? Or even if you are based in the US, they're able to get your legal documents, your passport, your social security number. If you're an immigrant, they get your immigration document, neutralization document. Guys, are you all with me? Because I'm going to ask my question.
Yeah.
So I have just actually talked on 3 scenarios. From these 3 scenarios that I have mentioned, which one is really critical? Which of the scenarios is really critical and why?
Well, let me try. I think the last one.
Why?
Because of the documents are very crucial to somebody's life here in the US.
Also, I think that the last one, because they can use that as a potential means to blackmail you, to get more and more information from you, and continue to abuse you.
That's excellent. Okay, I'm saying so because this is cybersecurity, like literally it's cybersecurity for you, right? And what you guys have done, you've just defined risks. And we're going to see how risk is tied to CIA Triad. So the last one, remember, they take your social security number. You can become a victim of identity theft. Somebody can take that information and open credit on your name. Immigration document and your oil, everything. As she said, they can blackmail you. They can do so many other things, right? They have that document. And then the one in the case of like TV or phone, those are things that maybe is replaceable. Like my phone, if you take it, you're wasting your time. You can't even get in. You get in, everything will be like you can wipe it, right? You cannot get my information. But still, do you guys see now the level of the risks we are talking? And that's why, though we are still on vulnerability, we start talking about risks. You start hearing the word of low, moderate, and high. I'm just introducing something I hope we're going to visit in the future. You start hearing of low, moderate, and high. Still, from these 3 scenarios, how will you categorize your risks in the third case? Is it low, moderate, or high?
The third is high.
Second?
The TV burglary entry, that is medium, and then just the front door being open is low.
Thank you. Are we all together?
We
Yes.
are.
Right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. So now vulnerability in this case is the fact that that door is unlocked. That's a vulnerability. And that's why I say vulnerability on its own will never cause harm. But you see a threat, somebody that actually took advantage. Maybe they knew that that door is unlocked, or they didn't know, they were just trying their luck, and guess what? They got in. So they exploited that vulnerability. And once that vulnerability has been exploited, it's going to result to security risks. I don't know, are you guys connected to the point?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right? So once that vulnerability has been exploited, it will result to security risks. But in security now, we start thinking of the risk factor. What level of risk? Is it a low risk? Is it a moderate risk? Is it a high? Each time you start hearing of data breaches, this is exactly what is happening. What kind of data has been exposed? What kind of information do they have? And what is the risk posture? How severe is that risk? And I'm telling you guys, this is cybersecurity. Okay? And that's why we said in this case, the vulnerability is a fact that your door is unlocked. And guess what? The bugger is the threat. And what's the risk factor? Depending on the kind of item. In the computer world, we start talking of data. Now, remember, we're talking of data. It can be your first name, your last name, your date of birth, or whatever. But what kind of data do they have access to? That would determine your risk factor and the severity or impact level of the risk. Are we good? Guys, we need to understand this concept before we proceed. We really have to understand it. Are we good? Can we proceed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Right? And that's why I said, but how do you address vulnerability? First, you want to install a strong lock on the wall. You want to use security measures like doorbell, cameras, or alarm. I just love security because this is physical security that you guys, we practice it on our daily lives. When that person get in, that door or alarm went off, those are controls.
Mhm.
Those are controls. And that's why, if you recall, I told you that security is all about proactive measures. Those controls are proactive measures. So when the alarm went off, guess what? The person got frightened and they left. They were not able to get access to your data. That's exactly what is happening in the computer world. But still, that alarm can still blow up again. That person can still insist and find their way through. And they can still get item. Okay? And that's why you need to start now understanding when we start talking about security controls, they are just proactive measures to protect organization assets. Being logical physical asset, they are just proactive measures to manage organization asset. And again, still ties so well with cybersecurity, right? And they said that regularly check that the door is locked before leaving the house. So remember, I told you people, I'm just kind of like put security there and what we do in real life. Now, they say regularly check. And remember what we talk about regular audits? We hear that we are doing regular audits, we are doing continuous monitoring. It's just to make sure that these controls, they are effective. So the fact that that door is there doesn't mean that you will never check. I think me, I have my OCD. I'm paranoid. There are times I will lock my garage door. I'm like, I don't know. I will turn around and come and check, right? So it's just that thing that you want to be sure and convinced that, again, they are all controls, is there and is effective. So that's vulnerability for us. And they say how vulnerabilities are created. First, lack of proper security controls. I think I told you guys of what I posted earlier today about these hacker groups attacking major US airlines, and so many of stuff. And I just posted, actually, I actually put a comment on my post. I am thinking, do they have robust policy in place? And yes, if they do have it, how often are they accessing their controls? Surprises, stuff like that. You have weak system, you have policy that nobody really checks, and you have controls that are not operational. And that's how data breach occurs. Even when you have it, do you also monitor those things? Do you monitor to check? Right? And that's why they say lack of proper security controls, for example, not encrypting sensitive data or leaving software unpatched. If you are that type that you never update your apps or whatever, please, you have to do that. Okay? Not locking your door, making it easier for intruders to walk in. You might also talk about misconfiguration. It's very important. Once since I did work as an Oracle DBA, configuration is an important thing. I didn't know much, but coming from security, like working, in this field, then you understand the need for organization to have, proper configuration. Because just imagine if you have like misconfiguration, for example, this one is setting up a firewall to alert unnecessarily traffic. And if you guys realize, I think I posted video of port and protocol. If you have unnecessarily traffic, have it like on secure ports, of course, you're allowing people to get into your network. That's misconfiguration, right? And each time you have misconfiguration, of course, you have that limitation, that weakness, that the bad guys, those guys are smart. If somebody tells you that those guys are sleeping, they'll know that person lied to you. I have my website that I don't have sensitive information. If I tell you what the number of attacks I'm receiving every day, you'll be shocked. Then come to think of organizations that really have sensitive information. They are into business because of that. Even if that website goes down today, I can still I literally have backup everything. My business will still go on. But it's just to make it easier for students to go there, create their account, watch a video and assignment and everything. Right? But again, that's just to tell you that these guys, they do not sleep and they are one step ahead of us. We are behind them. Okay? And for example, leaving your windows wide open, even if your door is locked, that's still a mistake. You get, do you see? Even it doesn't mean that they have to come in through the door, but guess what? They can go through the window, right? Outdated systems. This one, I think I didn't flew with Southwest airline for almost 2 years. Southwest has been my favorite airline because it's cheap, it's affordable. You guys, I'm cheap. Okay. So I believe sometime in, if I'm not mistaken, 2022 Thanksgiving period, where they have outdated system. And because of the weather condition, it affected, I don't know if you guys, if somebody was flying then, it affected those systems and everything was bizarre. It was down, scheduling, people got stranded at the airport because of outdated system. And me in security, I was thinking, how can I measure a big time company like this have outdated system? That's to tell you that forget about branding. You will see things when you start working for some of these organizations. I'm not going to lie. And that's why I say, if not of compliance, those regulations will not get job because they don't really care. A lot of companies do not care. So that I didn't flew with them for 2 years, but I just resumed that. I just resumed and like, okay, I can do it. But I was just so scared because in my head, how can you have an outdated system? How? Outdated system, they are legacy system. It means the vendor doesn't even longer support the system. It's just like somebody having I don't know, what's the latest version of iPhone? I still have an iPhone 12. Don't tell me because I'm not, I think it's still like, my phone is also still recognized right now. Once if Apple stop supporting the phone, then I can upgrade. But imagine somebody have an iPhone 5 and an iPhone 6 or a Windows 7 that the vendor does no longer support those versions. Think of all the different vulnerabilities. Now we're talking about vulnerability, the weaknesses, the flaws, the bug that comes with those software themselves. That's exactly what I'm saying. What's that?
I was saying that iPhone 5, 6 is a vintage.
Yeah, you see? So likewise, I want you guys to see it in real life, and that's why you see most of these companies, they always have money. That's a trick. Remember, because I recall when I took my Oracle database, our professor, when he mentioned that, I wasn't, I think I was so slow to understand. But when they stop supporting it, and then you are already going with them, you are forced to upgrade, you are forced to use their product. Right? And that's why I talk of legacy system and outdated system. It comes with non-vulnerabilities, and these are all the different ways that vulnerabilities are being created. And we also talk of human errors. Let's not forget using weak password or clicking on phishing emails. A typical example, I want you guys to start thinking of security. Do you guys realize, do you know why when you get a job, it doesn't matter what you do, you have to take training, user awareness training?
Yep.
Why do you take that training, Mimi?
Right, the first thing is for you to understand what their guidelines are. The second thing is to stay in compliance, to make sure that you're adhering to what is required, so that they don't also breach their contracts with the governing bodies. That's why sometimes they'll tell you how often you need to change your password, and even if you don't, they will shoot out those emails for you to trigger you to change them.
Excellent, right? So think of a situation where users are not even educated. I always tell people we spend so much time fighting the external world, the hackers and everything. But you see people inside, they are the highest risk the organization have, especially uneducated users. Not meaning that these folks are not educated, because they do not understand security. If you have users, especially you, if you are here, if you are that type that you click on link, every little thing you click, guys, stop it. Stop it. If you are that type that once you go on WhatsApp, somebody send you video, everything automatically is saved on your gallery, go and disable that function. Disable that setting. Make sure you can view something before you can do it yourself. Avoid just having automatic, stop being saved automatically on your phone. Don't do it. Are you that type? Happy birthday, happy new year, all those you don't even know where it's coming from and you are just clicking on it. Do you know what they can embed in those pictures that you guys are just clicking? If you know, then you will not be clicking on stuff like that. I do not. That's the truth. My friends and family know. Send me something else. What is it? Okay, before I can take action. I don't just click on stuff like that. I do not. That's to tell you how serious it is. And many a time, this method of hacking has been so effective because people are being fooled. Even me in security, somebody actually tricked me on Facebook. As soon as I realized I had provided my password, I reset my password right away. I fell for it. Okay. And that's why, say, for example, as she said, if you don't receive those training, you don't understand. When they send you those email, boom, click on it, put your information. Guess what? It takes you to a site. You can install any form of malware. You can install stuff. And if that computer, that machine is connected to the network, it can literally spread across the network. And that's why you heard when they have certain like a breach or whatever thing, they have to, well, I don't know if you guys are that advanced. Maybe you go through incident response area of containment, you disconnect that thing, you contain it, you get a forensic expert for them to come and analyze and see what's happening. Again, that's to tell you that even internally, human error, they can click on that, and guess what? If you guys are also current, what happened with Hillary Clinton and email during the campaign, go and read all those things, and you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. Yeah. So this is something that we really have to pay attention. And when they are sending, as Mimi said, when they are sending you guys those things, know that it's coming from security. Okay, it's coming from security, because if you have users who do not understand your policy, that's a vulnerability. But do you know the threat? The threat when hackers send phishing emails. Do you see? So the threat have to exploit the vulnerability. Vulnerability is that they don't even understand, they've not received awareness training. The hackers send it, guess what? They click on it, and it definitely result to security risks. And now we start talking of the risk level. How severe is the risk? Were they able to provide their username and password? Were they able to download certain things? Did you even download a malware that have access? So now you start investigating, and that's the beauty about cybersecurity, because stuff like that, it will always happen. What of insufficient monitoring? Not having tools to detect unusual activities, right? If you have spikes, things happening within your network, and you don't have those tools, then apparently things can go unnoticed. And before you realize it, those guys, they've been in your system for years, and boom, they've collected stuff. And is it OPM? OPM, I forget, and the acronym, but no, OPM had a gut breach, dealing with US citizen or people sacred clear all those things some years back. You guys see how you can even like do some research on that, But these are some of the things that when you read about them, then you realize that security is just, it's good. Encryption,
I have a
and
question.
then go ahead, please.
So, in all of these vulnerabilities and that might lead to threats most times, we as GRCs, right, or cybersecurity and
GRC analyst, yeah.
all of that, do we? I know we do audits, but are we also analyzing the patterns and stuff like that, or that's not our duty?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
So your job, a typical GRC roles, right? First is to ensure that you guys have policy. You see, all the things that they're analyzing too, those are all security controls.
Okay.
So when you're assessing those controls, you want to make sure, are you people doing that? If they are doing it, for example, you want to get a screenshot. If you have to interview people, okay, how often your policy have told you that this is what we do. We do it this time, that la 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 la. So you, from GLC's perspective, is just more of like making sure that
What
those
is
things are
happening?
being enforced. Yes.
Thank you.
So you work with a respective team, you collect those in cybersecurity, we call them artifacts, right? You have evidence. Okay, so you collect evidence, artifacts to verify, to make sure, okay, yes, collect, but you do not do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, even vulnerability scan. A typical GRC role would be following up to make sure that those vulnerabilities are remediated,
Okay.
but you know what your policy says. Remember now we're talking about the risks.
Mhm.
If you have different vulnerabilities like what we've covered, you have low, moderate, or high, your policy might say that we remediate high vulnerabilities in 2 weeks,
Okay.
moderate in 2 months, low in 3 months. So your role is to follow up to make sure that you guys follow that time plan. Make sure you guys have a plan of action in place to be able to remediate those per your organization policy. So you'll be working out with different stakeholders to make sure that those vulnerabilities are being remediated per what you guys have.
Okay, thank you.
So it's
Sorry,
just more, yeah, go ahead.
is it okay if I add a little bit?
Yes, please, go.
With my role, I do vulnerability scanning
Okay.
and I meet with the external auditors, which are the PwC and KPMG, when they come in to test our controls. So it all depends on the organization too, and the roles that you're going to be doing. So I
Okay.
meet with auditors and I do vulnerability scanning. And at times I might pull out all the list of our endpoints using Sentinel-1. And I use Splunk too to pull out some
Wow.
queries. So it all depends on the organization.
Wow. I've never in my role, just more of like managing and doing collaborating.
Yeah, but Ade, you're just doing the reports, right? You're not assessing the threats and looking at the patterns and trying to make sure that they don't reoccur. Because I want to just understand if we also do that in this role.
Analyzing those, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
No. Yep. Are we good? Can we proceed?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are the ways vulnerability can be reduced? We talk of having encryption. I don't know about you people. WhatsApp is really, really safe. Okay. I don't really do direct text, but some of you, I don't know, people are paranoid. So WhatsApp enable end-to-end encryption. We're going to discuss encryption when we get to CIA Triad, and then protect information if it's intercepted by a hacker. For example, when we go to CIA Triad, we're going to see that, by having security controls in place, make sure you have good configuration settings and all the other things that we've discussed. Make sure your users are being trained, make sure you have security policies. So those are the things you will do to reduce your risks, right? And then, yeah, that literally covers a whole lot that we've spoken. Then, yeah.
Just a quick one. So I also noticed that most times at work they simulate threats, right? They send out phishing emails sometimes, and they want to see what your reaction would be. I guess that's also part of preventing scenarios where there could be a possible threat.
That's a typical security controls.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, that's a typical security controls where when actually fall under CP, business continuity and incident response, sorry. So when I'm assessing those controls, I want to see, do you also have to, because your policy, you must have that documented your policy first and foremost. So being in internal auditor or external, the first thing are your policy at the moment of truth, because I don't know what you guys are doing. So that's why I need to first of all take your policy. I know that, okay, we said that annually or bi-yearly we do X, depending on what scenario you guys are going with. Maybe it's the phishing that you said, right? Where first and foremost, you always provide users the training they provided, and then you send that simulation. You want to see if they will click on it, or what action would they take when they identified? Would they be able to report it? You guys have the team. Do I even know like which team they will have to report that to? Because those are the things that we pay attention to, right? So when they are doing that, I'm saying so because like my manager, that was what I did. But my current role, I don't do that. So I am collecting the report. I'm seeing, is this something that we've done? If you guys have done, let me see the report. So each time you do stuff like that, people clicking on it and all those things, you have to estimate capture that report.
Okay.
And yes, and of course, if you are going with like know before the tool, it will give you that analysis, and then you can see X amount of employees click on it, action they took, and all those things. Then you can generate a report.
So that is control.
Those are controls, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Those are controls, yes. Yeah, I was just explaining like how it happened. And there are times when they do stuff like that, then it will even tell you, do I even want to change the training and all those things? Yes. And even with that, to your role that you play as a GRC analyst, there are times that maybe you work with an organization where they do that, and employees are not even able to take their training. And remember, for you guys that you have your job, do you remember that every year they have to remind you to take that training?
Yes.
Those are controls, because your policy, the document of your policy, that's something you guys do annually, and that's why you have to do that. But what happened in a situation, okay, I'm going to put it out there, guys, sorry. What happened in a situation, they just say, okay, you're working as a GRC analyst, and some employees have not taken their training. So apparently their training has expired. What will you do?
I mean, the policy states that everybody's supposed to be in compliance with their training, correct?
Yeah, but yeah, it's not
But
like they're going to follow the policy though.
so, I mean, I'm gonna make sure that they are putting that in place. I don't know how I'm gonna force them, but we have to make sure that everybody's in compliance. So maybe take away some of their assets, or I don't know, suspend them or something.
Are you really? Oh my goodness.
So just to say something here,
What happened?
in the company I work for, once there are trainings that you haven't done them, you get kicked out of the schedule. You have to do it before you
Oh,
get
they will block your access.
Yes, you'll be able to
Yeah.
log in.
Okay, good. So those are policies that they have in place. You see? So, and that's why I said, like, you guys are seeing from the front end, right? The back end, this is what exactly that's what we are like looking at, we are doing. You have to follow those things in policies. But still, when you realize that it's coming and they've not done anything, because that's your role too, you have to continue, you have to perform you have to monitor, right? There are times that you have to escalate to the respective managers. Hey, this person from your team have not done this, can you follow with them? That's like typical rules, the things that you do, right? You make sure they do it, and depending, the last time I did, like my last two, I've not really worked with that, but the like other role I did work with like awareness training and all those things. So follow up with them for them to do it, and then come out with your report. And based on the statistics, you also see maybe that's training you guys want to tell, or you want to choose a training that people can understand better. Okay. But those are all controls. And that's why I said everything, even vulnerability scanning, as Ade said, all are controls. There are controls that will ask you, do you guys perform vulnerability scan? And your policy tells you what you guys are doing. So they are all controls. And that's why I say that with that security policy, honestly, there's not, your organization cannot really work. Without policy, not only security, but in terms of GRC and security, the organization cannot really function. We good?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so how to mitigate vulnerability, this we cover. I'm not really going to spend time. We're spending a whole lot of time discussing about that, and then we'll talk about threat. So by now we already know what threat is, because I spent some time for us to just understand threats, vulnerability, threat, and risks. And that's why I say a threat is any potential danger or event that can exploit a vulnerability and cause harm to an organization, individual, or system. Threats are external or internal factors that actively exploit vulnerabilities. Do you see?
Mhm.
That employee not taking training, not understanding that, hey, they are not supposed to be clicking on those links. That's an internal threat. Okay. I mean, that's a vulnerability. But you also have internal threats where, for example, disgruntled employees, right? Fire somebody, then you've not revoked their access, they still get access to your building. The worst form of risk that can happen is when somebody dies, okay?
Yeah.
Get there, gun people and all those things. Those are all internal tricks. Or somebody can be there because they have unnecessarily privileges, right? They can abuse it. We've seen cases of people stealing money and doing all those things. Those are all internal threats, right? And when we go to access control, you guys will see that. Like, give people just what they need. Just give, or no, don't just give, you know, privileges like that or permissions. It doesn't work that way, right? In the case of we already discussed that about threat, the bug guy, your neighborhood notice, a threat does not always exploit a vulnerability, but the potential exists. Can you guys relate to what we say with the three scenarios?
Yes.
Yes, a threat does not always. So in those three scenarios, so with this one, a threat does not always exploit a vulnerability. It ties to which of the scenario?
The one the burglar came in but didn't get anything.
Thank you. The first one. Yes. Guys, are we all together? Let
Yes,
me
we
know.
are.
Yeah.
Okay. I just need to know. That some people are so quiet though. All right. But still, the potential still exists. I'm going to see that shortly. And then type of threats, of course, there are different types. We have natural threats, events caused by nature, floods damaging data centers, earthquakes disrupting critical operations, a storm damaging your roof because it was not reinforced. I think how many weeks ago we had like hailstone here in Dallas, I mean in Austin, in San Antonio and Austin, some people really got affected, their roof really got affected. So those are different type of threat. And that's why you start hearing organization having, data availability, having a disaster recovery side and all those things, because threat can be very, very dangerous, especially modern nature. If it goes to organization, to an area where an organization have their data center, then they can definitely bring out things, a lot of stuff down. And that's why it's also important for us to understand some of these threats. And human threats, you have intentional or accidental actions by people, hackers exploiting system weaknesses,
Thank you so much.
employee accidentally clicking on phishing links, as we have discussed, a thief intentionally breaks into your house, or a neighbor accidentally knocks over your fence. So those are all the different type of threats that we can have. Talking about technological threats, failure or issues in system or infrastructure. Say, for example, a server crash due to outdated software. Remember what I said about Southwest Airline? Malware or ransomware attacks on systems. A
Oh, when we got
car
them from offense.
breaking
Mr.
down due
David,
to
you might want to mute yourself. Thank you.
a car breaking down due to poor maintenance, creating the potential for accidents, right?
Yeah.
But hard threat occurs again first, deliberate actions by hackers or malicious actor, cyber criminals using phishing email to steal data. This is really, really common. It is so common. I do have an article on our website that you guys can go read on that, on social engineering. Even on social media, you got to be careful. Disgruntled employees leaking sensitive information about gap planning and executing a break-in. And then for accidental, unintentional action that led to harm, say accidentally deleting important files. As DBA, that word delete, it's a powerful word, It's so powerful that you got to be careful, right? Delete stuff. Accidentally, it can happen. Then we talk of misconfiguration settings, forgetting to close a window, allowing rain to damage your furniture. Those are all accidental, right? What of environmental? As we can see, natural disaster or external conditions such as hurricanes, flood, that floods a data center, power outages disrupting operations, say a tree falling on your house during a storm. Remember of the damage that it will cause. So just as we can relate in our daily lives, likewise, also that's what happens. So example of threats and their context, a hacker attempted to break into a network with vulnerability, weak password for unpatched software, risks the hacker gain access and steal sensitive data. So by the time we touch risks there, I'll give you guys a complete definition of vulnerability, threat, and risks and see how the link, okay, the connection. Physical example or security, buggers, scouting for easy targets and our locked door or open windows and the enters and definitely steals valuables or goods. And based on the type of goods or valuables, that determine the risk level or the impact level. And operational, guess what? Supplier failing to deliver material on time. So imagine during COVID, the issue with supply chain, it was a big thing, right? What of the vulnerability, lack of backup suppliers? Imagine. And then risks, businesses, operations are definitely delayed, leading to financial loss. So those are all things that we know that happened, but guess what? But with that, there are two words that we're going to cover now before we go to risks. We're going to talk about likelihood and probability. We'll talk about vulnerability. As of now, vulnerability are the weaknesses within a system, flaws or weaknesses within a system. Threat is the probability. Threat is the likelihood. Threat is the likelihood that a vulnerability will be exploited. Okay? Threat is a likelihood that a vulnerability will be exploited that will result to security risks. And we'll end here because we've not even touched CIA Triad. By the time we go to CIA Triad, then you guys will see how we'll be able to relate all of this and match them to the component, the backbone cybersecurity, security objectives, CIA Triad. But talking about likelihood, it says it describes how likely is it that a specific threat will occur. And that's why we said that threat is the likelihood that a vulnerability will be exploited. For example, likelihood is high if cybersecurity frequency or cyber attacks frequently target your industry. Likelihood is low if your system are highly secure and attackers are deterred. Likelihood is high, guess what? If your neighborhood is being attacked maybe every month, do you know how much you're going to pay for car insurance? You guys, you know that, right? Depending on where you live, right? If that is high, then of course, yeah, car insurance, your auto insurance is definitely going to go up. And that's a likelihood, right? But if it's low, likewise. It's just like if you have, when you are shopping, me, I'm just tired. I stopped shopping for auto insurance because it's crazy. I don't know if it's just me, right? This one will tell you, and then 6 months, it will definitely go up. I'm just like, whatever. Even though you park in your garage and whatever, I don't know what is happening. But again, those factors, they always consider each time you're shopping for your auto insurance. But in terms of probability is measurable on numeric expression of likelihood. And that's why your probability is 50%. If your company has experienced phishing attacks in 4 out of 12 months, there is a 33% probability of facing such attack again. there is a 20% probability that our neighborhood is being attacked by X amount of days or whatever month or whatever thing. So apparently, do you see? So probability is just a measure or way of expressing your likelihood, and give me a percentage and numeric number of that likelihood. Right? So likelihood is the threat is a likelihood that a vulnerability will be exploited, and probability give me a percentage of that or a numeric value of your likelihood. Guys, are we good with this? Is it too much?
Graphing.
It's very sweet. It's very good.
Good?
It's very good. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, good. Excellent. All right. Nice. Then, when how to mitigate threats, we're not really going to spend so much time on this. My point thing is just for us to understand, right? For example, block unauthorized access. I know I've mentioned firewall. I didn't go into detail because I don't want people asking a lot of questions because it's a little bit technical. But when you hear the word firewall, like this diagram puts it, it's still security controls, measure put in place that protect, prevent, or block, separate your private network from your public network. Public network, access to the internet, people coming in, a lot of vulnerability, risk factor. Private, where you have your database, where you have your heart, you want to protect it, right? And that's exactly what we are saying. For example, a fence that prevents burglars from entering your property. So that's it. And that's how you mitigate threats, right? Remember, we also talk about employees awareness training. How often do you educate them? So talk about the awareness training. You got to teach them, because if you don't teach them, they'll be the first to be clicking on those links. And what of backups? Who can tell me, why do you back up your WhatsApp chat? Why? Do you even back your WhatsApp chat or no? Do you
Sorry.
back up your WhatsApp chat or no?
Yeah, we back it up. You can. I mean,
Why?
there's the option to back it up. So that
So
in
why
case
do we back it
you
up?
lose your phone, for instance, if you lose your phone and you get a new phone and you put in your Gmail credentials, if you had a Gmail, it's gonna bring out all the backups up of the last time that the backup was incurred before you lost the phone.
That's excellent. So that's backup for us. Okay. So likewise, organizing, and these are all controls. So this thing, guys, the way we play around with them, still we do it. That's what we also do in a real world. Organization will have to back up their system, right? And that's where you start hearing backup. But the fact that you back up those systems doesn't mean it's 100% guarantee. And that's why you start hearing they are also performing disaster recovery and all those things, testing your backup to make sure it's operational. And likewise, just as you will back up your WhatsApp chat, in a case where maybe you misplace your phone, you can recover from that chat or get a new phone. So likewise, these are all controls measures that organization needs to implement, okay? And that's also a way of preventing threats. Threat intelligence also use tools to identify emerging threats. There are so many tools that organizations do have to be able to identify threats. And talking about mitigation, again, as I said, we're not really going to spend much time, but I want us to finish with risks before on Wednesday. I'll tell you guys the videos that you can watch, if possible, before Wednesday class. But after that, we will go on CIA Triad and hopefully start with your very first project. I don't know if we have to cover some frameworks. I have to double check the slide. But talking about risks, by now we already know what risks are. Security risks is a potential for harm or loss when a threat exploits a vulnerability. So you see the link. A threat will have to exploit a vulnerability that will result to a security risk. But each time it results to that risk, now we start thinking of what's the impact level. Impact level is going to come in the future. We'll start thinking like which component of the CIA Triad has been affected. And, that's why I say next week class, if you can make it, it will make sense. So by the time we do that, then we'll have to see the relationship that exists. Okay. And that's a beautiful formula for risks. Risk equals to threat times vulnerability. Okay. With that, there's no risk. So apparently for you to get a risk, a threat will have to exploit a vulnerability. And each time that a vulnerability has been exploited, then we start talking about the risks. But tell me of the risks. Is it a high risk? Is it a low risk? Is it a moderate risk? So we need to understand that. And that's why we said that risks represent the possibility of negative outcome, not the sensitive. Okay? All right. So stay, again, we already talk about this. You lock that door, somebody get in, the likelihood and impact of the burglar entering your home and stealing your valuables. So that's the risk factor. And we already described the risks. It could be high, it could be low, it could be moderate, depending on the kind of item that they will take, right? So type of risks, you have data breaches, you have ransomware attacks, and you have identity theft. Guys, tell me, I believe we've seen this in the news, we've heard of ransomware. Tell me what that thing is. Ransomware attacks. Who wants to try?
What's the question again?
Do it all the time.
Ransomware attacks. Ransomware. What do you understand by ransomware?
I think ransomware. I will just give an example. Sometimes you have a link sent to your WhatsApp. Lots of people have had that, and they'll tell you that click on this link, and this once you click on it, they start asking a code will be sent to you. The whole you ransom, you have to keep giving information to access your own information, or to be able to get access to your WhatsApp. They would ask and take money and stuff. So they hold your personal information for a price. It could be monetary, it could be access to your company as a whole, it could just be anything.
Excellent. Mimi, what are you doing? You're ready for that job. She's
I'm
ready. Guys, can we graduate her already? That's excellent. Yeah. So imagine the bad guys, they just bring down an organization asset, like literally everything is down. They are asking for a ransom. And it's not this your $500 that will be asking for you to pay on WhatsApp. We are talking of like these are yes, talking of like dollars, millions. And you know the sad truth of this thing. That's why if you are current, right, just make it a habit to do some research on the different data breaches that have occurred. You'll be shocked. A lot of company by default, when you get breach or get hacked, you have to report it. Right. And then of course you need to bring in forensic expert for them to also investigate and all those things. But a lot of this company will pay that money first. They'll just keep it low key. They won't report it. And then in the future, they escalate. And guess what? You have to pay fines. Then you already paid the X amount of money. Yeah. So I was like, security is interesting because I reason why they are doing that. Reputational damage is not fun. Uber got hacked. You guys, you do Uber data breach. It's very interesting. I actually wrote an article on that. It's very, very interesting. Yeah. So you see, weak password being exploited by the hacker, the threat, and once that employee put in like their information, then we start defining the impact. As Mimi rightly said, it can be monetary, it can be whatever thing. As we talk about maybe financial risks, potential monetary losses due to fraud, poor investment or theft, a phishing scam causing unauthorized fund transfer, operational disruption, like imagine everything is gone, like they just bring down your system and nobody can log in, nobody can work until you pay them that money, right? A power outage threat affecting a business with no backup generators. Do you see the point? You do not have no backup generators, so apparently you are stuck. Reputational, of course, a negative publicity or data leaks, losing customer trust after a major cybersecurity breach. Yep. And then natural risks from natural events like floods, fires, earthquakes, damages data server because they were stored in the basement, which is the vulnerability. But how can this be risk evaluated? As we talk about likelihood, measure how likely is it that a threat will exploit. Likelihood is high if your network has outdated antivirus software and is frequently targeted, or if strong security measures are in place, right? Impact measures the severity of the damage if a risk materializes. For example, impact is high if a data breach exposes sensitive customer information, but it's low if the breach only affects publicly available data, right? Let's look at a real-world scenario. Say employees use weak passwords, that's threat, hackers attempting to brute force login credentials, remember? And I want you guys to start thinking back end. Have you encountered a situation where you put in a wrong password 3 times? You have been locked out of your account. You cannot, they lock you out of your account. You cannot.
Yes.
Those are all
That's
security
very common.
controls. Thank you. Those are all security controls. And you see the thing, they talk of hackers attempting. We are, because there's no way I'll know my password. I'm going to be putting wrong password 3 times. It happens, right? And that's why we've set policy. You already have your password where you guys have it on your policy and then it's been implemented. So if something like that happens, once your organization have tools like Splunk, where you have tools, all those things are being captured. That's the truth. They are being captured. So you can see, you can determine, you can even like keys, addresses, and all those things, right? Again, that's just to tell you that those, again, they are all controls, security controls. And a typical GRC role is to make sure that these controls are implemented, collect those artifacts. If you want to interview. That's our typical rules. You know, risks, hackers successfully access a system and steal sensitive data. Was the mitigation, implement strong password policy and MFA. That reminds me, you are on social media. Have you people enabled MFA, multi-factor authentication, on your accounts?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Guys, if you've not, and I have one of my students like, I hate MFA. Is that important? So MFA is a big thing. So if you've not, make sure you go to your TikTok, your WhatsApp. I mean, WhatsApp to have MFA, all those things, additional layer of security. So it's important for you to have that, right? Yep. Scenario 2, lack of fraud detection system in online payments. For example, I think Ms. Ade can tell us better. Threat criminals conducting fraudulent transaction. Was the risk, loss of revenue, and potential fines for failing to secure payment data. But how can this be mitigated? Install fraud detection system and monitor transaction regularly. Scenario 3, server stored in flood-prone basement. Was a threat a heavy rainstorm causing flooding, loss of critical data and business downtime, mitigation, relocate, or maybe have a disaster recovery site, right? And again, but how do we mitigate risks? First, address weaknesses to minimize exposure to threats, update software to fix vulnerability floats, and also make sure you are installing those updates. When those updates comes, make sure you also have them, right? So limit threats, you have to implement controls to reduce the likelihood of the threat happening or materializing. And again, as I said, those controls, if there's anything, if you know you're gonna continue with this training, you will see control is, they are a must. We need to understand security controls. If you understand security controls, you save your life. There's just so many things that you'll be like, wow, is this security for real? Right? And you're gonna work in a smart way, making some cool money, doing things. Yeah, use firewalls, intrusion detection system. Those are all controls to put in place. Even respond. And if you guys realize it, probability, I say that, there's that, in as much as security take proactive measures to implement controls, there are situations that breaches are going to occur. But the truth is, when it happens, what do we do? How do we recover? As Mimi explained, she talked about ransomware. When they bring down that system, they bring down everything. Is it that you're just going to pay the money? Do you have ways of literally recovering from that? That's why security, again, you start hearing of a control family incident response. You see the word incident response, and incident happens, how do you all respond to that? And that's something that, again, these are all security, okay? on a disaster recovery side. And then talk about quantifying risks, also assess likelihood and impact to prioritize which risks to address first. The fact that you have those risks doesn't mean that you're gonna mitigate or remediate those risks. And that remind me, I'll just use two words. I'm gonna ask you people for somebody to explain those, like mitigation and remediation. Okay. So based on the severity level, what your policy says that maybe high risks, we have to remediate them in 2 months, in 2 weeks, low weeks. So you have to go based on what your policy say and the priority level. Okay.
There's a little bit of rain.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think
okay.
that again, it really covers us, spend so much
Yeah.
time discussing that. So I want us to go through the questions and then, yeah, I think this literally cover everything. Yep. Okay. So I want us to take that question before you guys go. Yep. So questions for vulnerability, threat, and risks. What is a vulnerability?
B.
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 Are we all good with B?
Yes.
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 Somebody say B and, oh no?
No, B.
Okay. Which of the following is an example of a vulnerability?
A weak or reused password.
B.
B again.
Somebody
B.
say A?
B.
B.
No, B.
Okay, I'm making sure. How can vulnerabilities be reduced?
A.
A.
Excellent. Which of the following scenario represent a vulnerability?
The server is
C.
left unpatched or outdated.
D.
Which number?
That's
C.
C.
Excellent. You guys are ready. What is a threat?
A.
A.
B.
B.
The
So
weakness
I'm
in the
hearing
system.
A and B.
It's B.
B. What is exploiting the vulnerability?
It's always a threat. So
Okay,
that's a
so are we
threat.
good with that?
Mhm.
All right, nice. Which of the following is an example of a threat?
A B.
B.
Attempted to access an area.
B.
Oh, someone's okay, good. What types of threat is caused by natural disasters?
Environmental threats.
B.
B.
Which scenario demonstrates a human threat?
A.
We good?
An employee accidentally deletes A.
A.
Okay. What's the difference between a threat and a vulnerability?
A threat is an external danger, while vulnerability is a weakness.
B.
Okay.
A.
Somebody say A?
No, it's
No,
B.
Okay. All right.
Which is it? Is it B or
Yeah, it's B.
What do you think?
B?
Okay, B. You good with B?
I'm gonna go with B.
Okay, good. Okay. What is risks?
A.
A.
Okay.
A.
Which formula is used to define risks?
B.
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 Well, fast, but you guys, you get it so fast.
Get
I'm
really
still trying
fast.
to read up people like, what?
People have answers handy already.
Which of the following scenario represent a risk?
C.
C.
Which of the following scenarios represent a risk?
A flood damages servers because they were left in the basement where water could come in and destroy them. So that's a risk.
Remember, that's the damage, yeah, the impact, right?
Yeah.
How is risk mitigated?
Uh, Reducing vulnerabilities, limiting the threats, and
B.
preparing attacks. Oh, you have the answer on there?
You got the answer on
No
this?
way.
Oh,
I
Lord.
change.
You made it.
I
That was
change that. Okay. Okay. What factors determine risks?
uh, likelihood and impact of the threat.
Maria, they can't close. I
It
beg.
should be
Let me try to
likelihood
read
and
it.
impact of the threat because
Excellent. Yes. Likelihood.
Okay.
Which of the following best describe risk mitigation?
taking proactive steps to reduce vulnerability
B.
threat attacks.
Excellent.
B.
All right, guys. So today class, I think we're going to end here. And then, but just to give you guys a recap of this, do you see the thing they call CIA Triad? I have videos. Please, if you can watch those videos, I really appreciate it. But this, they are called, you see, they're called cybersecurity principle. Do you see all the frameworks that we covered? PCI DSS, so whatever framework, HIPAA, high trust, all those things actually has to do with the CIA Triad. And that's the beauty about cybersecurity because since they still focuses on these core principles, if you understand one, then you can definitely understand the others, right?
Right.
So this is the backbone in cybersecurity, as a matter of fact. This is the backbone. Everything we do in cybersecurity, we need to know which component of or components of the CIA triad has been breached. And that is how you're going to use this to identify the risk level. How severe is your risk? Is it high? Is it low? Is it moderate? So it's important for you guys to watch this video, but we're going to go through this over this on Wednesday so that when we start with RMF training, categorizing information system, I bet you once you understand this, when you're making your 140, please remember me, okay? Then you realize that this whole thing is so easy, right? Because we have this background knowledge. I'm not like other folks that will skip all of this and take you guys, people like that categorize information. I'm so because I have people who work, they are coming to me, they know, pay me $100 an hour just to help them. But they don't even understand this concept. They are not able to relate it. So if you think we wasted some time, no, we did not. I promise you, you'll see the importance of what we've covered by the time we start doing hands-on project. I believe that project, I don't know if we'll start on Monday, but on Wednesday, if not on Monday next week, your very first hands-on project. And I have a lot of friends making 140K just categorizing information system. Okay. So this is something that we're gonna cover. Again, it is the backbone in cybersecurity. And since we all have a good knowledge of vulnerability, threat, and risks, now we'll start talking about CIA Triad. We're gonna tie them back to risks. So risks is directly proportional to CIA Triad. I know that you cannot be talking of risks without you understanding vulnerability and threat. But a typical example, I'm just gonna give you guys like an overview, right? C there stand for confidentiality, I stand for integrity, A stand for availability. So confidentiality tells you that just give people access to what they need. You know, just keep information needs to be kept confidential, prevent unauthorized access. Only authorized user can get access to information. You will bear with me that you work for your organization, but still your access your access is also limited. You do not have finance or HR rule privileges, right? What they do is different from what you do. So that's confidentiality. Then integrity tells you about the integrity of information, especially, remember, I send you information over the internet. You are receiving on WhatsApp, you're receiving on YouTube. You guys, I receive a lot of messages. Maybe I saw your stuff on WhatsApp on all those things. But how do you want to maintain the integrity of that message that is being sent over the internet? And truth be told, anything being sent over the internet, you really cannot have, like claim the ownership. You don't know, anything can happen. And that's why security is also telling you that you want to make sure that the integrity remains. So just imagine me sending you people this Zoom link and somebody just go there and alter it. When you join, it takes you to somewhere else. That's exactly what we're saying, right? So that's security. And then for availability, which is an important one too, we want to make sure that data is available at any given point in time. So now with the little knowledge we have, each time you start hearing of a data breach have occurred, the first question is, which component or components of the CIA Triad has been tampered, has been breached? Okay? And with this background knowledge, because now when each time they cited which component has been breached, they are talking about a risk factor. So a typical example, vulnerability are the weaknesses, in a system. Threat is a likelihood that a vulnerability will be exploited that will result to security risks. Risk is the likelihood that a threat will exploit a vulnerability that will result to the loss. Guys, pay attention. Risk is the likelihood that a threat will exploit a vulnerability that will result to the loss of either confidentiality, integrity, or availability, either one component or components of the CIA Triad. So that's your risk. That's the full definition of a risk. Okay, so now remember we'll talk of like risks. You come in, they pick item, they do this, they do this. Now we are thinking about which component has been affected. Remember the case of when we may talk about ransomware, that's availability that has been affected. How severe is that risk? And that's why you start hearing organization having data center, disaster recovery, and all those things. It's because of all of this, because we are preparing. Yeah. When you go to hospital, CNAs, you have your own access, medical technician, doctors, because of confidentiality. Right? So likewise, I'm just preparing your mind that you guys will know where we are heading to. And cybersecurity, this is a backbone, but there's no way you can understand CIA Triad without you understanding vulnerability, threat, and risk. There's just no way. You need to understand it and see how they are directly proportional or related to CIA Triad. But when you have this background knowledge, everything we will do in cybersecurity, right? Because your first rule will tell you of you identifying risks. How do you identify risks? When you are telling somebody in your interview that I'm helping my organization identify and managing risks, what some of the way risks are being managed? By having security policies, by reviewing and updating those policies, So this is just like, that's how the conversation is going to go. But again, everything now is just more of storytelling. You guys are following, but by Monday, we'll start with the actual hands-on practicals that you guys will do. And that session, I'm going to do a lot of rooms. I'll just split it randomly, give scenario, people walk, and then come and, somebody, please don't do that. Can you edit that? Don't do that. So are we good?
That's human error.
Oh my goodness. You see, she have started. That was really human error. Yes. Right. So I believe this, I'll give you both some time, but I'll just like to know, I'll upload this on YouTube because again, as I said, I'm trying to take rid of my storage. I just want people to go there and watch it. Especially like most African folks, I know they couldn't join because it's really late. Even my Europe student, I don't see any of them here. So people can always go for back. But if you have any question, let me know. If you are not part of the WhatsApp group, I will add you. That is just a temporary group. After the training, for those who are going to continue, then we'll create our official class group.
So how long is this training after this 2 weeks?
So this training, after the 2 weeks, our training actually runs for up to 6 months. Okay, and this is a reason. I always tell students, I'm somebody that you want to know what you're doing. You want to be in a situation where you can work in any sector. You don't want to limit yourself that, oh, I know only this framework. No. So what we do, we spend so much time going through RMF training, go through all the different steps. We already have those videos. I'm definitely will update the group, tell them which videos to watch. So once we go through that, and the thing that I'll say it really takes a lot of time is the hands-on training, practical. So when students will do the hands-on training, there are times that I have to cancel classes because those projects, I'm not gonna lie, these are really hands-on projects. And then we believe so much in group work, so we do groups, and then they'll have to come present in class. Even when they are presenting their work, that day is just class presentation. I do not teach. They have to present it. I have to ask questions. Need to understand if they even knew what like the project was all about, because at the end of the day, you doing that project, that's something you're going to tell somebody, I have done this, I have done this. So you have to do it to understand. And that's why it takes up to that like 6 months. But the good news of it all is that within 4 months into the program, our students, we start pushing them to the interview session, where we also start prepping them for interviews. I even have students within the 4 months. I have one student that got her offer letter as soon, like she was in class, she just got her offer letter. So because one thing I've realized is that you might have the knowledge, but if you don't know how to talk, and there's just a way of you taking interviews also. Okay, how do you showcase your skill? How do you want to come out like the strongest candidate ever? So that's something that we're going to teach them. Also teach them how to apply for roles. I do not craft resume, but I show them how they can come up with professional resume. If they want, they can get somebody of 5. I can help them get somebody and help them with that. Then, but my goal is to like for you to understand the ATS system, what it is, how do you build the ATS system, just understand how the hiring process also work behind the scene. And once they flag your resume, how do you take interviews? It's very important. I see situation where somebody will just come with their tell me about themselves. It's like a song. It doesn't work like that in the GRC world. Okay, you tell me about yourself solely aligned or it goes with that job description. So what I've trained my student and what I know is, for example, if you have first interview, when you talk with the recruiter or the HR person, you need to understand more what they are looking for the role. So we prepared, and that's one thing with us. When a student have an interview, we don't mind cancel classes to prepare just that one student, because just an offer letter is a win for all of us. So we really pay attention to that. So once I take that interview, the first interview, I always tell people, even if you are here, you are applying or doing something else, when you take your first interview, you need to pay attention, ask questions, find out what is it that they want, what problems are they facing, so that your second interview or the second round, you are going as the problem solver. I am coming to you. I already know what you have. I know what you are looking for. I am coming and tell you this is your problem. This is a fix, and this is what I'm gonna do. So that would definitely change. And that's why when they are taking those interviews, tell them pay attention. No. So when we have that background knowledge, then we change everything. And what means there's no way you're gonna do that and do not have the offer letter. There's just no way. Yeah. And another role that will also apply, I think I have 3 students working as third-party vendor risk analysts. All of this that we've done, third party is the last one, but for you to work as a third-party vendor risk analyst, you need to understand all these other frameworks, because third-party, you are working with vendors, you are onboarding vendors. It's just more of question and answer, reviewing policy, reviewing stuff, but you cannot do third party without having a background knowledge of these core principles. So that's my last training as far as GRC is concerned. So by the time we do that and then they do their third party vendor risk training, you see some are applying for third party roles and other roles, and yeah, they are doing so well. Yeah. So that's why if you ask me, I think it's even small, because I've had master's students confirming and telling me they are learning security in this program. Master's student, master's in cybersecurity.
Yeah, I did mine last year from WGU.
Oh, good. Nice. Congrats.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I've had master's students confess and telling me, you know what, they have a master's, but they are actually learning security in this program. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I'll send you guys a dedicated playlist. If you can start watching those videos, please just watch those videos, trying to be ahead of your class. That'll be good, because one thing that I know has really been helpful is the fact that these students knows how to develop policy. That is not any kind of role, that's a manager role. You need to be up there making above 150 plus. Okay, but that's something that I would teach my student with the help of ChatGPT.
Okay, where are the videos in the chat?
On YouTube, I'll send it to you. I'll send you, and then like there's I have a lot of playlists, but there's this playlist that I tell people to watch.
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries. Any
You are a
questions?
very great trainer. I enjoyed this.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sorry, so please, where could we actually, do you say on your YouTube channel, are we going to